Hey guys, my name is Michaela, but you can call me Mick, and welcome back to my channel. I'm wearing a beanie, yes, with my headphones over my head. Well, one, I was just interviewing someone for the podcast, which is super exciting, and two, to be honest, my hair is so not viewable from human eyes, so I'm wearing a hat. And it's kind of cold in my house, so I just want to be a little cozy today. I'm wearing this amazing Fourth Wing sweatshirt that I love. And yes, I love Fourth Wing. Okay, so today I'm hoping to write a lot for Project House of Stone and gonna kind of do just like a writing, chatting session. Today is Sunday, November 3rd. So this is the third day in whatever writing challenge you're doing. I know a lot of people are not doing NaNoWriMo, at least like officially. I don't know, just staying true to what I'm actually doing, which is struggling through this first draft. So that's what you guys are getting. Struggle bus November, drafting quickly November, trying to get words out November, hoping and praying that happens November. Yeah, that's where I'm at. So we're still drafting. The goal is to finish this draft by the end of the year. So I have just under 10,000 words. I have 9,405 words today. So the goal is to write more today, and we'll see what happens. It's chapters 1 through 4. I think I'm actually gonna go back though, and I might scrap some words from chapter 4. I don't know, if I scrap something, I just move it into a section of Scrivener called like outtakes, so I don't ever fully delete something that I don't use, but I might delete some words today, and then I'd have to kind of make that back up in my word count. But today's goal is to write a lot, and so I'm going to take you on that journey. So let's go. So it is actually the next day. It is Monday, November 4th. I did do a cute little writing session with my friends and new critique partners, Becca and Ari. It's very bright today, but I'm actually okay with it. I'm a lot more red than I was yesterday. I'm still dealing with histamine flare-ups that possibly could also be rosacea flare-ups. We don't know, so I might just be red on my channel for a little bit. So yesterday I actually ended up writing 883 words, and I ended up scrapping basically a whole chapter and then rewriting it yesterday. So I wanted to get like 2,000 words in yesterday. I only got 800, but it's okay. Honestly, Becca, Ari, and I yapped a lot on our call, and that's probably why, but it's okay. I will take the writer camaraderie chat anytime. It's the start of the afternoon right now, and I've already written 644 words for today. So my grand total now, after scrapping a chapter and rewriting it, is 9,381 words. So I'm hoping to hit 10,000 words by the end of this little draft diaries entry, I guess. And I really want to talk about what I've been feeling and what I've been learning for these first 4 chapters that I've written. we did it. So I hit 10,000 words in my first draft of Project House of Stone. I'm excited. That's another milestone for me. I get to move the 10K to the completed portion of my to-do list board and work towards the next milestone. Some things I've learned for myself just doing these first couple of chapters. 1, trust my gut. I instantly started to have a little bit of a freak out, which is why I scrapped a chapter and then rewrote it. I just was worried that what I was trying to do in these first couple of chapters didn't make sense, didn't flow tonally, and gave like the wrong idea. But my friend Ari has reminded me, and Becca, to trust my gut and that they think the events are going well. That kind of leads into the second thing I've learned is that I do better when I'm not creating in a vacuum. Writing is inherently a solitary thing. I mean, I'm in this room most of the time, sometimes a coffee shop, but most of the time I'm in this room alone writing. It can feel, for me, as someone who is really community-based and extroverted to an extent, it can feel lonely. I really loved my college environment of having those feedback groups and having real and raw feedback on your work, even if it was someone ripping it to shreds. It was helpful. I found it motivating. Being around writers, talking to other writers about writing was motivating. And while I'm doing that on the podcast, on YouTube, I still had yet to find friends who I could do that with my own writing. Get initial feedback on draft 1, even if it's scary. And, I approached people that I feel very comfortable with and I trust their opinion, and I'm so glad they said yes. So I have like a little critique partner group right now with Cody, Becca, and Ari, and it has been really refreshing, really amazing to get initial feedback from other writers on my work. It's terrifying because it's the first draft, so I hope you know that I know that it's not good. But being able to get the constructive feedback and have it align with my own notes feels really justifying, where I'm like, okay, I think I'm on the right track. It's just motivating. I think it's just because it reminds me that I can do this potentially. Okay, maybe I'm okay at this. Maybe I'm not totally horrible, which is nice because I have a lot of self-doubt in this first drafting phase. I always have a ton of self-doubt. So it's nice to just be reminded okay, I think I can do this. But then it's also a really nice reminder that my words mean something and they're going to go somewhere someday. So that has been so helpful for me. If you are able to find a writing community and if you think that will be helpful for you, I highly suggest doing so. Just take a leap. DM someone. DM me. I'm always down to talk about writing, to read your work, give feedback, vice versa. It's not for everybody, and I recognize that. Not everyone wants to show their first draft to people at that stage, but I have found it's personally very motivating for me. Another thing I have learned right now with this draft is I don't know what POV I want this in. When I was planning, outlining, I was like, okay, this is third person, POV close. And then you guys saw when I started the first draft, I ditched that and went to first person and I really loved it. But now I'm getting into chapter 5 and I'm like, wait a second. If I'm gonna do first person and now possibly dual POV with my other main male character, so we have Helen and Kieran, there are plot points that happen without these two present. There's a lot that happens in my book. So I either need to change those, so one of these two characters is in the room where there's so much noise happening, but this is the only time of day I can film right now. In the room where these events are happening, or I go back to third person POV. So I'm not gonna stress too much. Since this is draft 1, I've done now chapters 1 through 4 in first person POV, 3 in Helen's point of view, 1 in Kieran's point of view. For chapter 5, I'm just gonna try it in third person and see how I like it. The pros of first person so far in this draft has been the emotionality. Is that a word? I don't know. The emotions that Helen has, I think, comes across better. Unfortunately, this is not a hee hee ha ha book. It's not like super fun, even though I think all the elements are really fun. It's still pretty dark. What Helen deals with and what it signifies is pretty heavy, and I want the reader to go on Helen's emotional journey. But it does limit then the other plot points that I had. I planned the outline in the story, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, like in third person POV, and I'm trying to change it now to first. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna write chapter 5 in third person, and then I'll let you guys know how it goes. The last time I spoke with you guys, I talked a little bit about world building and info dumping and getting feedback from Ari and Becca on my first couple chapters. They saw where I have trouble world building and info dumping. So that's something I just need to keep in the back of my head for this project. Ari pointed out I literally don't say my character's name in the first chapter at all, outside of just like the heading that it says like, hey, Helen's like, this is her point of view. So that's fun. So I have to figure out how to say her name when she's alone in a room. And then I need to find a balance of how much I want the reader to know about the world and how much I want them to find out about the world. And then when I do the dumping, make sure it makes sense in context. So I got to read Ari's first chapter of her Project Money piece, and she does backstory really well for her main character. And it reminded me of a tweet from Melissa Durston, who's actually going to be the next guest on the Pentapod podcast. So she tweeted, but I guess not because she threaded out, but that doesn't sound as catchy as tweeted out. So she tweeted out. She has a really good tip of if you're struggling with backstory and how to weave it in, to try to connect it to the character's present action. She said backstory often falls short when there's a disconnect between the then and the now, and I completely agree. When I read Ari's first chapter, I even made a note for myself, like, this is how you put in backstory. And so I made notes for myself for the first couple of chapters to just remember this for editing Michaela. So those are kind of the things I've been learning, is trust my gut, because I've been having a little bit too many self-doubt freakouts. I am someone who needs to be creating in more of a community environment, collaborative environment, even if it's a solo activity. I am motivated more. 3, I know nothing about point of view and I need to figure it out for myself for this book. And 4, I need to do a better job at weaving in backstory and world building in these first couple of chapters. So that's what I've been learning so far with writing the first 10,000 words. Even though I'm receiving this feedback, I also just want you guys to know that I'm not editing at all right now. I'm still just plunging ahead drafting. So I have amazing friends who are giving amazing feedback, but I'm just compiling that in my Scrivener and moving forward. So no matter what, I'm just taking stock of the changes I need to make, the skills I need to build on, just to make sure that draft 2 is going to be the best it can be, but I'm not going to do any of that until next year. We're still in drafting mode. So before I leave you, I just want to say thank you for following along on this journey. And if you have gotten to the end of this video, go ahead and leave a cat heart eye emoji if you're able to. Also, if you made it this far, I am going to do a little bit of shameless self-plugging here. I have been working really, really hard on the podcast Pen to Pod, and I've been posting episodes on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. I just really want to be able to continue doing Pen to Pod. I have so many amazing, cool author interviews coming up and amazing resources for you guys. So if you haven't listened yet to my podcast, please go give it a listen. The episodes that should be out by the time this gets out are an episode with Kath Richards, where she is a romance self-published author, a conversation with Tan Vitus, who is a fantasy, and we specifically talk about their high fantasy self-published book, Rachel Kitch, who is a trad-pubbed horror author, and Harper Hawthorne, who is a self-published romantasy author. Those are just a couple of the interviews I have so far, and we have quite a few interviews left for this year. And I'm going to give you guys a sneak preview. So next episode, we will be talking to Melissa Durston, who is an editor. So any editing questions you have, I hope I asked it. We're going to be talking to the lovely Claire Robertson, who is debuting her self-published book next year. I talked with Lana Vargas, who is also a self-published romance author, and H.M. Wolf, who just published her debut fantasy book this year as well. A star-studded lineup, in my opinion. I just am loving this podcast so much, and I really want to keep doing this for you guys. So if you haven't listened, please give it a listen. And if you like the episodes, sharing them with another writer friend means the world. Like if you just shared one episode on whatever platform you listen to it, we could potentially double the listeners, which is amazing. Okay, that's all I have for you. I'm gonna go back to writing and figuring all this stuff out and not having self-doubt. And you won't have self-doubt either, because we can do this. We're writers. And the journey may be a little long and stressful, but it's also very fun and rewarding. And I hope you guys find joy in the process. Bye, writers.